I've sent the meeting packets out. Has everyone had an opportunity to read the meeting packets? And if so, are there any corrections that will be needed? If things look good, may I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes? Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Meeting minutes have been accepted in. And I will turn it over to Mr. Hanson.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Haynes. Before I start with you know what? Let me first let Jerry Sahi give the financial update, because in the same manner as Jim White, I like to keep Jerry at his desk working on the finances. So let's let him get through this and get back to work.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Preliminary traffic volumes for March year to date was 10.1 million. That was 138,000 less than previous year. Primary reason for the decrease are: one, last year was a leap year and it accounted for 135,000 of the decrease. Number two was Super Bowl parade accounted for 35,000 of the decrease. So in net, take those two out, we were actually better versus previous year. For the month of March, preliminary traffic volumes were 3.9 million, around 28,000 higher than last year, and trucks grew by 4.3% versus the previous year. DRPA, actual traffic and revenue. January year-to-date revenue was 29.6 million, 270,000 better than budget, 5.7 million better than last year. 5 million of the above variance versus previous year relates to toll increase. January year-to-date traffic was 3.8 million, 10,000 better than budget, and 90,000 better than last year. PATCO ridership and revenue. January year-to-date revenue was 1.1 million, which was 4.3% less than last year, and 4.9% better than, 4.3% less than budget, and 4.9% better than last year. January year-to-date ridership was 460,000, 30K less than budget, and 10,000 less than better than last year. Operating expenses. Preliminary January year-to-date operating expenses of 15.2 million, which was 1.3 million favorable to budget. 639 of the savings from employee-related costs. Currently, we have around 137 open positions out of the 954 budgeted. Majority of the 1.3 million savings in operating expenses is timing related. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. Are there any questions for Jerry? Okay. Going forward from
I
here,
got a question about the vacancies.
okay.
Is there a certain department or division that has that has a lot of vacancies?
Yeah, the police department has the most. Police
Okay.
department's got like 33. We actually put a $10,000 signing bonus on this go around. We got a significantly higher number of applicants, but I still don't think we're going to fill every vacancy this time. But I am hopeful that by the time the fall comes, that we'll have all of them filled. The rest of them, Steve, are pretty much proportionate to the size of the groups. So our bridge ops union people is the biggest group. Our PATCO group, the operations people, so the IUOE represented and the Teamsters represented. And there are a couple positions there that maybe are a little disproportionate. The track electricians, I guess we call them maintainers, we're having a little more difficulty. The electrical technicians on the bridge side, and HVAC people. But other than that, it's pretty much, it's just pretty much based on retirements and how long it takes to fill them.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else on any of Jerry's point. All right. Hey, hey, Larry, you know what? I lost well, I didn't lose you. I crushed my phone and lost all my phone numbers. So I don't have your number anymore. So if you could, I wasn't saving to the cloud. I am now, but if you could send it to me, that would be great. I
Okay,
just want to first follow up on a question you asked probably a couple meetings ago, Larry,
got it, John.
on that email that you got. They did inadvertently send that invitation to bid to the PACO Eastbound Westbound Monthly Newsletter instead of the OBD E&O News and Info. And they realized it after they did it, so they resent it to the other group as well. But that's why you got that. It was a mistake. And they've put sort of a double check process in place now that hopefully will prevent that from happening again.
Got it. I just emailed you my number.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep.
And then to go on from there, I know we have engineering manager Mike Rakowski with us today. Mike, I don't think you're prepared to talk about power consumption savings from the solar panels tonight, are you?
No, we are working on our annual report and that will be addressed in the next meeting.
So if we can get back to you, on that, we will, if you're all right with that, Chairman. Status of the New Jersey case against DRPA regarding Holt lease. I think there are a couple things that are conflated here. There is no case against DRPA regarding the Holt lease. The history on the Holt lease thing is that our Inspector General uncovered that this was not a market rate lease, actually wrote it in a report that we posted on our website. And when we did that, two things happened. Well, one thing really happened. Andrew Seidemann, who is the sort of investigative reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer, he really is a good investigator, and he always checks our auditor or Inspector General reports, and he started asking questions, and he wrote about that. Around the same time, the Auditor General requested, or the auditor, the New Jersey audit, the New Jersey, what is that guy called? John, do you remember John Rink?
Not the comptroller, right?
The comptroller. Yeah, it is the comptroller. The New Jersey comptroller requested a whole bunch of information from us, all of which was public information. And, but they didn't just request it, they subpoenaed it. And so we told them they didn't have the right to subpoena us. We would gladly give them the information if they withdrew their subpoena, and we'd give them a certification to tell them that they got everything and all of that, which they refused to do. And in fact, they actually heightened they subpoenaed our general counsel, then they threatened to dump a truckload of subpoenas on us. And so we filed in state court or in federal court. They went to state court to try and undo our federal filing, and they lost in state court. Okay, so they lost in state court. They subsequently made this argument that they had never made before about pointing to the Holt lease just because they read about it in the newspaper, and they were trying to kick up whatever muck that they could. But the bottom line is they lost the argument in state court. The Holt lease was never a big part of anything they were doing until they read about it in the newspaper. They asked for a bunch of scattershot information, which we're still prepared to give them once this matter is resolved. But I will say this, that when the matter is resolved and we're successful in federal court, and those arguments have already been held, we're just waiting for the judge to render his decision. Once he does, and it's very, very unlikely that we would lose that, we'll still give them the information, but now we're gonna give it to them. Instead of just handing it to them, we're gonna make them sign an agreement that says that they recognize that they have no authority over us, that they won't take us down this path again, and then we'll give them the information, right? So that every time some comptroller comes in who wants to make a name for himself, decides to beat up the RPA, we're not going to have that. So confident they're going to lose again in federal court, and then we'll give them the information, but we'll have it under an agreement that makes sure that it puts this matter to rest forever. With respect to the issues with the Holt lease, though, we've sent Holt a lease for what we believe is a market value lease. You won't be surprised to know that they don't agree with us. They think there's mitigating circumstances, and we're in the process of trying to negotiate that. So that's where that is. Are there any questions on that? Okay, I sort of gave you the status of the RPA police recruitment efforts. We put a $10,000 signing bonus on. We had over 300 applicants. I think Rob Finnegan, maybe you know more than me, but I think we're somewhere around 70 left right now after testing and background check and things like that we've done so far.
Yeah, excuse me. Good evening, everyone. We're just a little shorter than that after some background checks. And we're in the process of interviewing candidates now.
So hopefully we're going to have we're hopeful that we're going to have a pretty high number of candidates. In fact, Rob and Chief Cobbs have been in contact with the police academy to even discuss the possibility of running just a class just for our recruits so that we can get everybody through. Jerry gave the financial status in terms of lane closures on bridge work. Mike, are you in a position to be able to talk about lane closures?
Sure, I can elaborate on that.
Okay.
As we approach this busy travel season, we kind of anticipate minimal disruptions on the Betsy Ross, the Ben Franklin, and the Walt Whitman, right? We have painting project at the Betsy Ross, but it's minor impacts. The Ben Franklin, the current project's winding down, and the Whitman, we're mobilizing a project in the time being, but we kind of anticipate less impacts this season, right? Because one of the major impacts is our biennial inspection, and that's in the even years. So that those are lane closures that happen primarily in the even years. That being said, May is kind of a pivotal month down at the Commodore Barry. We have a weld investigation project that we're wrapping up, and we're trying to transition to this major, if you've all seen the advertisements, we just awarded a $220 million project for repairs down at the Commodore Barry. So we are trying to wrap up the weld project and transition into this major capital improvement project. And May is a big month because we're going to be doing work during the day in the weld projects and work during the night to replace the movable barrier and the barrier machine down there. So the hopes are that new barrier machine is going to ease traffic impacts during the summer. It'll be more reliable than the system we have down there, but that's kind of what we're pushing for in the month of May. And so hopefully that eases some of the constraints during the summer down there. Any questions, specifics?
All right, great. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Status of when-out service will be suspended. Can't say for sure right now. We've got a law firm, Delaware Paxson, who has prepared an agreement because we need the city of Philadelphia to agree for us to be able to install a way to close off the concourses, which we're prepared to do at our expense, and then to be able to remove everyone from the concourses who doesn't belong there, which would be everybody but employees and contractors involved in the cleaning effort. We've sent this to the city. We've gotten no feedback yet. I'll see what we hear at our board meeting, because our chairman also mentioned this at the Franklin Square opening. He's very, very interested in getting this done. The thing that we've said is that if they don't go along with it, we will stop running altogether to 15th and 16th, 12th and 13th, and 8th and Market. And we seem to have that resolved, but at the end of the day, the board will make that decision. But that's been sort of what we thought we would need to do to be able to make sure that we have the ability to clean the stations, to be able to shut down the power, to be able to do all the things that we need to do. And also it will make sure that we don't have people going onto the trains and into the concourses and other stations who don't belong there, right? So hopefully we're going to hear soon. Again, the read that I have, although I can't say this for certain, but the read that I have is that our board and our chair are not going to be too patient on this. Are there any questions for me or comments on that?
Yeah, I have one. When you say stop running to those stations, 15, 16, 12, 13, is that overnight or is that altogether?
No, altogether.
Okay.
Altogether. That'll be all together, because we can't, the whole idea is that we're going to be cleaning, we're going to be removing people that don't belong there, and hopefully they're going to go somewhere else, right? If we leave them in there, they just pile onto the trains when we start running in there at 4:30 in the morning. So we just stop running there.
Yeah, I've seen complaints online of like only increased about number of homeless on the trains. So it's we've talked in length about how it's not an easy problem at all, but if that's a solution that you're kind of putting the city in a quarter to agree to, then it's what you got to do.
Yeah, and look, my goal is not to put the city in the corner. We're not quite that aggressive, but the thing is that the whole program doesn't work if we don't stop running there, if we can't do this, because all that happens is they encamp for the night, and then when the first train pulls in at 4:30, they pile on.
How
Right?
public is that information about stopping running to those stations? Is that something that could be shared
It's
yet?
not really public right now. It's
Okay.
not really public right now.
All right.
So I'd appreciate it if you keep it confidential at this point.
That's why I asked. Sure thing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else on this? I think
I got one
Jeff
question.
Kessler had his hand up. Jeff?
Yeah, thanks. I had a quick question, which is if you're going to be suspending service further down the line, especially since there's now this brand new gorgeous station that is fully within the DRP's control, is there interest in running, or can there be overnight service that operates between Lindenwold and Franklin Square, sort of as a lifeline service during the period of time when the rest of the line has service suspended for overnight cleaning?
There will be service along the line overnight on the weekends. So Friday and Saturday night, but there will not be service overnight Sunday through Thursday.
Right. So on those days, rather than completely eroding service, have you looked into at least maintaining some level of overnight service rather than just shutting down for several hours by using trains, having them terminate at Franklin Square? Because I also
We have considered it.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
considered it, but that's not the path that we're going to take right now. It complicates the plan. It diffuses the limited resources that we have to manage all that. And part of this idea is by not running, we have the ability to really focus on the cleaning, the maintenance on the tracks, and we'll be maintaining tracks, stations, concourses. So we're going to be doing a lot of things in all of the stations and along the tracks, and it doesn't lend itself to running trains, because when we run the trains, it introduces a whole new level of safety precaution that takes away from the effort. This is not meant to be a permanent situation. We're envisioning it to be a 6-month situation. So we're not considering running overnight. In addition to that, there's about 125 people that are affected through that whole time period. And while that's a significant number of people who are going to be inconvenienced, in terms of the number of people that we have who are the users during rush hour and other times who are demanding change, this is the best way we can deliver the change. And again, it's going to be temporary.
Got it. I think the last thing that I would last comment I would share is I know that when service was suspended on Tri-Rail down in Florida with some of their connecting shuttles, one of the things they did that actually was rather successful is for those individuals who were impacted by the lack of service. They offered, for example, a Uber discount code where they would cover half of the Uber fare during the overnight hours to or from one of the stations. So just think that might be an alternative that can be provided as a way to offer some service for individuals who may be impacted by this, or at least mitigate some of it.
Again, it's not the plan. PATCO's heavily subsidized at this juncture. We've only got about 50% of the ridership that we used to have on PATCO. So it is from an operating side, fully 75% subsidized by bridge tolls. We're going to be adding a significant amount of cost through the cleaning and police effort here. So the numbers are going to go up even higher. And so the idea that we would pay for transportation for people who aren't using our line is not on the table right now.
Okay, thanks for the update.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Coyle, I know you had your hand up a couple of times there. Sorry. Did you have something, Dan?
It's all good. No, it's all good. My question got answered.
All right, great. Thank you.
Hey, John Boyle's got his hand up as well.
Oh, sorry, John.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, John.
Can't hear you.
John, what you might want to do is, since you're having audio issues, type your question in the chat, and we'll get it answered that way.
All right. On the question of are there plans for future expansion for PATCO in Philadelphia, there are none. There are none right now. So there are no plans to expand. And John, we at this juncture don't have plans to advertise it, and have talked about it a little bit, but have concerns about putting the wrong information up because it's not our information. We do plan, though, to give people plenty of advance notice so that they should be able to the extent that there are options, that they can figure out what they are. If we come up with a way that we think is a good way to do this, And if you have any suggestions, we're happy to hear them, but we're worried about giving people the wrong information. You know what I mean? That's part of the issue. So,
John, just on that, AC line does not run overnight, and there's limited bus service that ends like on the beginning and the end. That there's not New Jersey Transit buses that serve everything overnight in our time frame. So we've kind of explored what options they're out there, at least what they publicize on their websites.
What are the plans for continuous maintenance for cleaning of the SEPTA-owned portions of PACO in Philadelphia? Well, SEPTA doesn't own any of PACO in Philadelphia. And it's mostly the Philadelphia concourses that we have the issues with. And our plan right now, as we've said, assuming the city of Philadelphia agrees, is to shut down. PACO will install some type of capping system to prevent people who don't belong from entering. We're going to clean them out, and we're going to be cleaning for 6 months, and then we're going to evaluate the success of the program, the efficacy of the program, and we'll make a decision about what to do next. But we're not taking over the regular cleaning. We're not taking over the normal cleaning of those concourses. We're only going to be doing the overnight cleaning to augment what SEPTA is already doing. So their normal plans, their normal approaches, whatever, or what the city of Philadelphia is already doing. Again, I don't even know for sure what areas SEPTA controls in those concourses, but the ones that are around us are controlled by the city of Philadelphia. So there's not really any issue or point between us and SEPTA. The subway connectors, they're not within our control, but I do not believe that there's any plan to reopen them at this time. And John Rink, there's a question here about the cleaning schedule that I didn't answer, and the Franklin Square opening status. If you can handle them.
Certainly. So for Franklin Square, Kathy gave me the numbers from 1:35 on Thursday until midnight last night. We've had 2,856 entries into Franklin Square. Saturday we had larger crowds than normal. We did have a bump or a pretty good increase for those riding to the protests. Looking at yesterday, Kathy gave me an example. We had 411 customers use Franklin Square and 2,932 use 8th Market, which is a total of 3,343. If we look at last Tuesday, the first before we opened, we had 3,162 customers use 8th Market. So some have moved over from 8th Market to Franklin Square. I know all the DVRPC and WHYY. It's right across the street. We're very happy for the station to open. So we did see some movement and then also new riders. So that's the preview in five days of data. And then in regards to the cleaning schedule, so half of our cleaning force is overnight. They work 10 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. And then we have a few custodians on during the day and the mid-trick, and then up into the evening until our night shift comes in. And then we have coverage on the weekend where we have our day shift employees. They quickly respond to the reports, spills, other cleanup issues. So they're out in all the stations handling all the day shift items. And then when they're free, they run the floor scrubber in 2 to 3 stations per day. At night shift, we remove all the trash, and then we do our heavy cleaning, including pressure washing, which we're doing now, full time now that the temperature is warm. So each night during the week, we power wash a New Jersey station, and then on the weekend, because we need the tracks in order to bring the equipment in. We've been doing power washing on the weekends. Last weekend we did 8th of Market. This weekend we're going into 9th and 10th and 12th and 13th platforms to clean. So majority of our heavy cleaning is done overnight, where we remove all the trash, go through all the stations, vacuum the floors, clean the windows and the doors, and then really our day shift is the spot response to people spilling things in that nature. So I don't have any questions on those two.
I think that covers, Chairman, I think that covers everything on your agenda.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
I had one. I don't know if it made it onto the list. I guess not. But recently there has been a new, I guess, chairman or commissioner of NJ Transit. So I was wondering if there's been any discussion of improving the relationship between PATCO and NJ Transit, and as far as adding bus routes through different stations. And the new CEO of NJ Transit is a South Jersey guy. He's from Camden. So I was thinking that may, I'm not the only one thinking that may lead to increased funding or planning with existing stuff that's going on in South Jersey. So has there been any discussion of that?
Yeah. Actually, there has. Great question. Chris Clory is a great guy. I've worked with Chris. Chris has been around in a number of positions. I think he was the Deputy Commissioner of Transportation for New Jersey. He was the Acting Commissioner of Transportation for New Jersey. He was on the Rowan Rutgers. He was the head of the Rowan Rutgers board. He was the head of Cooper's Ferry, which is now the Greater Camden Partnership. Then he went up to the Gateway on that Gateway project, and now here he is at New Jersey Transit. Mike Venuto and I have met with him. We don't, Dan, we don't apply. We don't really weigh in very much on the bus routes. We don't get too involved in that, but two things that we are working very closely with him. And Chris he's a take charge, get things done kind of guy. And yeah, he lived in Haddonfield. His dad was a professor at Camden County College for a lot of years. I think he lives in Princeton now since he went up on the Gateway project, I think. But anyway, he had two things. He's sort of jump-started and reinvigorated the GCL project. And in fact, New Jersey Transit under Kevin Corbett and Rich Schaefer had actually decided that they didn't need us in the project management role any longer. We were going to be doing, we had gotten to the 30% design, which we had signed up for, and they were going to take, they're going to take that work and they were going to sort of put it in their own prioritization schedule. And then Kevin Corbett decided to leave, and I guess Rich Schaefer abruptly left with him. It brought back another guy who's very well known to DRPA. Bill Brooks took this guy Rich Schaefer's job. Bill actually was the chief engineer here at DRPA during the time that I was the CFO. So Bill's a guy who not only does he know South Jersey, which is where he lives, but he knows DRPA really well because he was an engineer here, he was an engineering manager here, and he became the chief engineer. So they asked us to stay on and to continue to help them do work, to create the documents, to procure the system, which will be on a design, build, operate, maintain, and perhaps finance, but also to get some early action projects done, which we're envisioning doing some work in the intersections in Glassboro, maybe. And perhaps we can get an agreement with Conrail, some work along the Conrail line before Governor Murphy leaves office, and Chris probably with him. And the other thing that we're working on with him is the Walter Rand Station, and we weren't getting a lot of attention about our needs at the Rand Center. We were being squeezed out, but thanks to Bill and Chris, that's being revisited right now. So Mike Venuto and I have met with them, with Chris and Bill Brooks and Kieran Patel, who's the other guy. Kieran and I actually spoke at the Kroc Center for Alliance for Action meeting yesterday. It was actually George Norcross spoke, Mayor Karstafen spoke, Commissioner Director Capelli spoke, Mark McDonough, who's the president and CEO of New Jersey American Water. Then I was in fifth place. There was about a third of the people who originally were there left by the time I got up to speak. And then Kieran Patel was the final speaker from New Jersey Transit. So we've already had at the operational level a good working relationship with New Jersey Transit for cross honoring when either place has trouble, but definitely closer relationship, but we don't get too involved in suggesting bus routes.
John, just
And then if I can add, John, it's like,
Yeah.
it's also improved all the way down to the maintenance level, right? We've had trouble we have a joint maintenance responsibility with several of culverts and stuff between Haddonfield and Lindenwald because we shared track area there. And they haven't been very responsive in honoring their side of that kind of maintenance agreement. And just in the last few months, the coordination efforts I've seen more in the last 3 months than I have the last 5 years.
And then on my end, I deal with Barbara Lazaro, who's their government relations person. So there's items or issues between the two of us. We work together. And then I saw, Reggie, I saw a question Jeff asked about, do we have a vacuum for trash? You talking about in the track area, Jeff?
Yep.
So we don't, but we soon will. Right now, we do all that by hand. A lot of times we'll clean the track areas when there's foul weather and we can't do other work. Our staff will go through. So we will have a vacuum on a rail cart that we'll be able to pull around and vacuum up trash. The other interesting thing that it will be shortly delivered to us and we'll put through the testing. We have our tracked utility vehicle that we use for leaf cleaning, and then we use it to de-ice the third rail in the winter. We got a cleaning arch on it that we'll use the water that we use during the leaf season. We'll have spray arches where we'll be able to actually clean the subway tunnel, the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, all from our track utility vehicle. So that is supposed to be delivered to us soon. We hope to put it in, and already have asked, we're going to put a GoPro on it and do all that. So when we go out to use it, we'll be able to share it with the customers to see a new tool to clean this actual subway. We believe that will help reduce the amount of the black dirt that's pulled in by the trains and the subway stations, where we have to constantly clean it. So hopefully we'll be able to clean the actual subway tunnels, which haven't been done in a very long time.
I have a question, Mr. Rink, about that. Patco's been around forever. Why haven't you had this before?
Just haven't had that piece of equipment to do that. So
I have a question.
yeah, I can't tell you, Larry, that it's actually the vendor who built the TUV has the other areas like Toronto. They do a lot of equipment for Toronto, and found that they have a wash arch that will be able to use the tanks and the systems we have to do leaf cleaning to clean the subway tunnel. So we're looking forward to that.
Mr. Hanson, I have a,
Yep, go ahead.
I think this is a learning moment for me. I never realized how much effort there is put into keeping the stations clean, the tracks, the trash, the glass, I think this could be turned into a PR win by communicating it to the riding public and others. And maybe they may even throw a little less trash, but tell the story of what's involved to keep the station clean and when trying to keep it clean, and that it's done every day and every night, and it's a massive story. It's a massive effort. I don't think no one really realizes that. I certainly didn't. Anyway, let's put it that way.
So a couple of things that I will say, Bob. The first thing is I want to commend you on your optimism that people calling people's attention to what we do to keep a station clean would stop them from making a mess. Because I'm an accountant. I am a CPA. I'm a professional skeptic, and I think most people know you're not supposed to throw trash and cigarette butts and stuff like that on the ground or on the tracks. And if they do it, probably realizing how hard we work to try and clean it all up isn't going to stop them. But I could be wrong. I hope you're right. I think it's a great idea. I just don't, and we are doing some of that now. We've put some stuff out on social media about showing the work that we're doing to clean it. But as hard as we're fighting this battle right now, it's not a battle that we're always winning. And so it's hard to brag about something that we're still struggling with. And that's why we're going on to this next step with shutting down the stations and cleaning. But I have no doubt we're going to turn the corner on it. And I think that would be the right time to really start to talk about all that.
Yeah, maybe at the same time, I don't know how to express it, but how much effort and money is being spent that could be spent on other things, that just to keep everything clean for riders, I mean, and reinforce that whole notion that the bridge tolls are subsidizing Patco and all these efforts, right?
Yeah. So I think, look, I'm very hopeful that a couple of things are going to happen. We're investing very heavily in trying to get new police officers with the $10,000 signing bonus. The first place they go is Patco, right? So these police officers are going to be at Patco, the people that we hire. And then the cleaning of the station, when we undertake that, I think in 6 months' time, when we're winding down this, this temporary project, things are going to look a lot different. And then we're going to be talking about what is the level of effort, what do we have to do to maintain it, and we'll be in a better position to sort of trumpet what we're doing.
Is 6 months some magic number that you determine that will turn things around, or is it just an arbitrary date that you've selected?
Yeah, it's an arbitrary date. I think it's a reasonable time frame to turn things around. If somehow we have miraculous success and we think we can stop it sooner, we're going to do that. Believe me, it's not. We're not looking forward to. We're not rubbing our hands together with glee and saying we're so glad we don't have to run overnight, Sunday to Thursday. We've always done it. It's part of our. It's part of our history. It's something that we prefer to do. So if we get 4 months in and we think, all right, things look good and we believe conditions have changed so that we don't need to do this, then we'll stop. But we think 6 months is a reasonable amount of time to be making a decision. It's also an amount of time where the weather is going to be, it's the warmer 6 months that we think we're going to be talking about. That's another thing. So we're not going to be right now planning to be closed overnight in the deep dead of winter.
But at the same time, in the summertime, the homeless are not looking to sleep in the stations.
Yeah, right. I mean, but this is where we are, and this is where we are. This is not. We're not saying that we're not going to make alterations, changes. Like I say, it could be shorter. If we determine it needs to be longer, it's going to be longer. We have to fix this problem.
All right. Any other questions before I turn it over to social media? Larry, any other questions from anyone? All right, I'll turn it over to Larry. Social media.
All right, cool. Thank you. I do have a couple questions. First off the bat, has there been any more discussion with PennDOT regarding the Walt Whitman ramps or 95 expansion?
No, there's been none.
All right, cool. Second question, we've addressed this already, but I want to throw it out here. Excuse me, and I changed my plans tonight because I tested positive for COVID. If anybody wants me to mask up, I'll be glad to, but cough that is throwing me off here. And the battery on my mouse died, so I'm a little off.
Mousy.
So, when do they expect a new overnight schedule to start? I know we've talked about this. Is this, I can answer that you're still negotiating with the city?
Yeah, we're still negotiating with the city because they have to, they have to be a part of it, because as much as people don't want to hear that it's not our area, it's not our area. And there are laws and rules that prevent us from doing things there without their consent.
Okay, so okay, cool. I'll take care of that. So here's something that also came in on Blue Sky. So another question that has come up. A lot of people would like for Petco and or DRPA to join the Blue Sky platform. I'll throw that out there again. It would be nice if you could. I don't need an answer right now, but it'd be nice if you could consider it. So here's a question that came in, something I just thought of at the new Franklin Square station when I saw it again. Thursday, there is no automatic door button for those in wheelchairs can't open the door. Could you bring that up at your next meeting?
So I can answer that. The
Thank
door that there's no requirement to actually have the blue button door. As long as the doors meet the threshold requirements of the pull push force that are out there in the design codes, and it meets ADA. So we had them in the past. They're a maintenance problem, but all the doors where we recently did all the new stations, all the doors meet ADA requirements for push pull.
Got it. Thank you very much.
So, and let me just rephrase that just a little differently, right? Definitely what I would say is that the doors do meet, or they're ADA compliant, right? Unquestionably. And the problem with putting the blue doors in, as John said, is that if they break down, that can impede the ability of the door to be open with the push pull. But having said all that, John and Mike Rakowski, let's take a look at, is there any kind of solution that we have to make these doors even more accessible? Okay,
Awesome.
So we will take a look at it.
Thank you. And to that point, I wasn't able to attend the grand opening the other day, but I did listen to the speech online. And thank you, Mr. Hanson, for your shout out to the CAC during your presentation. That was very much appreciated. I don't know if anyone else caught that, but that was good.
Yeah, look, I'm going to say this again. We don't always agree on everything, and sometimes emotions, ramp up in these meetings. But me, John Hanson, and Larry, you know this, I know for sure. My primary orientation to life is I'm argumentative and confrontational. It doesn't mean I'm I have any dislike or antipathy for anybody, but I feel like you get to the truth quicker, right? You get to the answers quicker. And so I welcome being pushed a little bit. I don't mean to ever insult anybody, and I hope that, and I don't get insulted when people sort of get mad at me and challenge me. Never stop thinking about the disagreements I have, because it always starts out like this. Why doesn't Larry agree with me? And I'll obsess on this. Why doesn't Larry agree with me? But then I turn it around and I'd be like, why don't I agree with Larry? Why can't I see it his way? And usually I may not come all the way over to your side, but it modifies the way I think. And I know all of us at DRPA and PATCO go through that. So this is so valuable to us, even if sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable in the moment. I appreciate all of you and the discussions that we have, and you have made a huge difference in the way we think and the things we do. You're responsible for many changes that have happened, even though I know it's not as many changes as you would like to have seen happen, right? So I try never to forget that.
Cool. Appreciate that. Thank you. Next question from Ben S., who I'm sure everybody knows. I just contacted Historic Philadelphia to add PATCO to their maps and directions page. Maybe CAC can do the same. I guess that's contact Historic Philadelphia to add PATCO to their maps and directions page.
Yeah, that's Amy Needle. Yeah, we'll talk to her. She was at the grand opening. She gave out free carousel rides to everybody.
Nice. Next question from somebody I'm sure you know, by Jen A. Miller. Ask them what happened or didn't with the tile at Franklin Square. So what I'm going to do is copy her. Let me see if I can copy link to post. I'm going to put her pictures in the chat, and she has, and it's on Blue Sky, again, on Blue Sky, so it's worthwhile for PATCO and DRP to be there. But there's a bunch of pictures that she took in the past week of tiles that are dirty, cracked. The grout looks very dirty, and it doesn't look like it had a $28 million renovation, is what she said in a previous post.
All right.
Can I ask
We'll
a-
look into it, Mike. I don't know, Mike or John, if you have anything to say about that, or you want to just look into it, that's okay with me.
I mean, it's something we'd have to look into. I don't have an answer. We did refurbish all of this, so it should have had hands on it, but we can look into what occurred at the specific spots.
All right.
Forgive me for asking, what is Blue Sky?
It's a pretty new social media platform that's been touted as a alternative to Twitter.
Oh, all right. So
It's different algorithms.
Okay.
It's similar in a way, but different. No ads. No.
Larry, I didn't know it was an alternative to Twitter. I thought it was an alternative to Truth Social.
It's a social media platform.
I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Okay.
It's a joke.
They all are.
Are there any further questions, or we have time for one more question if there's any more?
In regards to the tile, look at it, but some of it, some of the tiles so stained it might not have been able to have been clean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some of them look
because
smashed. I know you took tiles from other parts of the station and moved them around and stuff. And, this is just somebody walking through the station. I'm sure she wasn't looking for things, that she just, took those pictures walking through, and, the grout doesn't look good. Some of those tiles look smashed, and, as beautiful as the rest of the station is, for somebody to be walking through the stations and for that to jump out at her was, somewhat surprising.
And then broadcasting it on social media, right?
Well, she replied to my post about the meeting tonight. Do you have any questions?
Oh,
So
right.
we'll take a look at it, but this makes me think of another story that I'll tell you really quickly. One of the visits that we had, we went over and we were walking through, it's months ago now, before it was open, and John Rink points at a pipe, and the pipe is coming down the wall, and it's obscuring part of the Franklin Square words, right? And we're like, oh my God. And the guy from HNTV was like, hey, it's right where it's supposed to be. And I said, you got to move that. You got to move that. So we had to pay to move it, but we did. And we'll take a look at this. We'll figure out. There may be nothing we can do. It might be the best they could do in this area with what it was, but it's not something on any of our radar screen. We'll look into it.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's all for me.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rink, are there any public notice items happening between now and mid-May?
That I could think of. We just had our big one.
Yep. All right, nothing there. Cheryl, quick question for you. Any update on the new applicants? I think they were interviewed. They went to committee yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I haven't
Other
heard
interviews?
anything. I do think that they had interviews yesterday.
Okay.
So if they had interviews, they wouldn't have gone to the committee. There was no committee meeting yesterday. They were probably interviewed and it'll be brought to the
interview, okay.
committee at the next session. So that'll be in 2 weeks probably.
Okay. Right. All right, that is all I have for DRPA. Any final questions for DRPA before we let them go? We have about 3 minutes left. Not seeing any hands, not seeing any hands, not seeing any hands. All right, DRPA, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Have a good night.
Happy Easter.
Thank you. Good night.
Happy Easter, everybody. Thank you.
Happy Passover.
That too,
Happy
yeah.
Passover.
All right. Just from a new business perspective, I didn't put anything down, but I just wanted to make mention of. I redid the agenda the way that the membership looks. That way, it's a little bit easier to see who's emeritus, who's not. So just to make it easy on the eye. Any thoughts on that? Like, don't like?
I like it.
Thank you. Then I also have any new potential members. Bob, there was a new potential member, Lupe Diaz.
Yeah, I did not yet. I didn't have the opportunity to reach out to her yet. So
Okay.
I will, and I will copy you on my communique. Okay.
Thank you.
She lives in New Jersey.
Okay. And we lost,
Pennsylvania.
sorry, we lost William. He's withdrawing his nomination because of personal engagements.
Okay.
So we lost him. Okay. Does anyone have anything for the good of the group? May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
I second.
All right. Thank you all very much. Have a happy Easter, happy Passover. Have a great night, and we'll talk next month.
Good night.
Reggie.
Thanks.